All right, good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second in our week-long series, highlighting some of the fantastic examples in our creative Sandbox gallery. Today's episode will be around YouTube, which we're very excited about. We've got two agencies on the line, as well as a digital production company, and we'll go ahead and introduce those in a moment. I'm Brian Moroz. I'm a creative lead here at Google, and to my left is Jeff.
Hi everybody, Jeff Posnick from the YouTube Developer Relations team.
So we're going to be first speaking with Ogilvy out of Paris, then we'll be talking to Saatchi LA and Stopp. Initially we're going to talk to Thomas out of Paris right now, and he has a beautiful view out of his window of the Eiffel Tower this evening, if you can see that. And we're going to talk about a Perrier campaign. So why don't we go ahead and run the video, so we'll take a look at the campaign, and then we will go live to Thomas and we'll have a conversation about it.
It started with a simple truth. The more people in a room, the hotter the temperature. So we decided to find a way to bring this to life digitally. The more hits a film gets, the hotter its story gets. By going into the club Perrier, viewers will enter into the hottest nightclub ever seen. Trust me. We shot a club's interior several times, each take becoming more crowded and hotter than before.
The result is the first YouTube video to evolve with the number of viewers. And to make sure it would go viral, every viewer had to invite all of their friends to see the project in order to advance to the next, hotter version of the video, thanks to Facebook, Twitter and email. As the number of hits rose, so did the temperature as the new stories were revealed. And as the temperature soared, so did the sexiness. It got so hot, even the club itself started to melt. We turned an usual individual experience into a massive social project.
A unique club deserves unique music, so we created a one-of-a-kind band to play there. Babe Youth has released a 5-title EP, including the Le Club track, Break Me, which has since been remixed by DJs all over the world.
In less than 3 weeks, 11.5 million people transformed our first video into amazingly sexy content. The experience has been hotly discussed on TV and thousands of blogs. Because people wanted to see the next evolution of the video, we got countless share tweets, 1 per second, at the project's hottest peak, becoming the first ad in France ever tweeted about during the campaign.
A totally new way of using YouTube and proof that Perrier is the ultimate refreshment when things turn hot. We got everything?
Did you know that 2 girls were kissing each other in version 5?
No, but that's a good idea.
Okay, I feel overdressed now. I feel like I'm very inappropriately dressed for the rest of this piece. So risque, bordering on the edge of appropriateness in a very fun way. Thomas, can you tell us a little bit about just tell us about the campaign, kind of where the idea came from, the steps you guys took, and just give us a 2-minute overview of how that all went down.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, of course, it's a bit provocative. Maybe it's more provocative for American people than for French people, but we're Perrier. We've been in France for over 100 years now, and we've always played on provocative codes. And what we've been, actually, the brand has been at the agency working with us for a bit more than 20 years now, and we've been really helping them developing their presence on the digital space for the past 4 years now. So what we've tried to achieve all the time with them is to create a digital presence that would be relevant to the brand true promise, and that's really where it started from on this execution and on the previous execution we've done. So basically we had 2 constraints on this. When we started, we wanted to create an innovative digital experiment, and we wanted to be true to promise of the brand, which is ultimate refreshment when things turn hot. So when you talk about ultimate refreshment when things turn hot, it can be read on as a physical benefit, of course, but also as an emotional benefit. And when people get too close to each other, things turn hot as well on many different levels, and that's what we wanted to show. So actually, the starting point of the idea was really one insight, which was the more people you've got in a room, the hotter it gets, the hotter the temperature gets, and that's when you need a Perrier to refresh yourself. So we thought that was really true. That's what's happening when you're in a club, but we wanted to create that online. And then we ended up thinking, okay, what's the best way to create that kind of experiment online? We will create the first scenario of a club where the video evolves with the number of viewers. And we quite quickly defined that the best place to make this happen was YouTube, because that's where our target is going. That's where basically we're targeting 25 to 35-year-old people, quite hedonist and party guys. So that's where they are on YouTube, and that's where they will share what they like.
Great. So let me ask you a question about the idea generation process. So I think that the way that you guys use that insight was fascinating. The more people in the room, the hotter it gets, and the direction you took it was funny, it was amusing, it was titillating, and it was, obviously people were interested in it. So given that you took that idea, where did the idea of changing the actual video content depending on the viewer number come from? How did you guys come up with that? Is that something that you had thought about before and wanted to apply to this? Did that come out of the process of ideation? Where did you guys come to that?
That's something that actually came out from the agency itself. Actually, we've been thinking as much in terms of creative execution as in much of innovative technology. We wanted to have something that never been done before, right, that people would talk about it. We wanted to have something very social as well, that people want to share. So that's really an idea that came from the agency at the very beginning, but quite quickly we also had to involve all the partners, which were of course YouTube, the media agency, some developers as well, because we've been working with Perrier London, and we quickly had to all meet together in a room to make sure that we could make it happen and find the best way to make it happen.
Great. And so, to follow up with that, what were the roadblocks you ran into, if any, and what were the breakthroughs? How did that process work when you said, okay, we have this idea? It's a pretty clear idea, but on the technological front, on the creative front, what were the really difficult areas, if any, or did it go fairly smoothly?
Actually, we've had quite a short time to develop that. I think we did it in about 2 months and a half. So it's been a very rapid process. That's why we gathered everyone at the same place at the very beginning. And we knew quite well what we wanted to achieve. So the main questions were, how much can we custom our channel on YouTube? Because it was back last year, and I know the customization of channels on YouTube have been evolving quite a lot since. Mm-hmm. But we just wanted to make sure that we could, for example, host our 6 different videos on YouTube without having them viewed by everyone.
Right.
So
sure.
That was some basic questions of how can we host things at the same place, but not having everyone seeing the video before. And we had a true need. That's why we chose YouTube as well. We had a true need to make the YouTube channel become a real club, actually. So we wanted everyone to gather in only one very single place, which would be that channel. So even in terms of media, we didn't want to dilute our media investment or create plenty of banners everywhere, and we had to think of a clever media plan to drive everyone on this specific channel. So that's why we worked very closely with YouTube and the media agency. Right. Actually, in terms of media, it was quite innovative as well, because we nearly did everything on YouTube. and it really helped us reach our goal, which was to get as many people as possible on our channel. And in the end, we get like 11 million people in our club in 3 weeks and a half. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of people in a club. Very cool. And
So-
Jeff, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I actually did. You mentioned, one of the issues that you faced was making sure that, I guess, viewers saw the right video and that, the videos that were for the different level of view count weren't already exposed on your channel. Can you talk a little bit about how you solved that technical problem?
Actually, I'm not a technical expert, so
Okay.
maybe I won't go into more details, but you'll be better than me at that. But basically what we did is that we had only 2 trailers who were hosted on the classic YouTube listing, I would say, the one you arrive first. And they were really like drivers to your channel. And then on the channel, we had the video hosted in a background layer, I would say. I'm not sure you would say that. And we just unlocked them as sorry for my French. We just unlocked them depending on the number of viewers
Sure.
we managed to reach.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did you use other media, social media, et cetera, just to drive people? Because that 11 million number is an impressive number.
Yeah.
It's something a lot of people would like to have on their brand channel or on their pages. What did you do besides, obviously, clear just word of mouth of this particularly compelling campaign? How did you guys drive people there?
Actually, we tried to add to the campaign as many elements of shareability. For example, at the end of each video, we invited people to share the video or the channel link on their Facebook or Twitter account. And if they did so, they could see in exclusivity the next video before anyone else, only one time. So there were some incentives to have people, to get people excited about it. But to be fairly honest, we found it a bit complicated to find the best way to make people go from Facebook to YouTube and from YouTube to Facebook. And in the end, we also wanted to increase our consumer database on Facebook, and it didn't work so well, given the number of people we've had on YouTube. So the link between the two were not as good as we would have liked.
Interesting. Okay. And I think it's also interesting just to point out what you said, that the way that you guys incentivized people to share the content was give them access to further content. It's not that you were giving them a product or a discount, and you were like, you're going to get even more of this content, meaning your content was compelling enough that people were willing to share it to see more of it. I think that's a really interesting, really cool idea.
That was really the idea of the campaign. And when we were watching at the people commenting, people were like saying, "Come on, guys, come and view the channel. I want to see the next."
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out something there that we actually have a fairly new API that I don't think was around when you were developing this campaign, so it's obviously not something that you used, but it is actually an analytics API that exposes YouTube analytics data, similar to what you could get via the website. And I know that your campaign is very much driven by basic view count analytics, but just throw out there something interesting that you can now do that you weren't able to do before is maybe take a look at more detailed breakdown of who is watching. And I don't think you necessarily want to unlock the video only if people in your target demographic view it, because that could be maybe a little weird, maybe a little not weird, but it definitely gives you a little bit more control to do more fine-grained things than just raw view count information.
Great.
Yeah, I think actually we got a report of who viewed us done by Google afterwards, but it was like 3 months after, so we couldn't monitor directly during the campaign, and maybe we could have adjusted our media investment to be more precise towards our target.
Right. But the numbers are pretty good regardless. So let me ask you a question about who at the agency worked on the project, because of course from agency to agency, and even just from project to project, the people who make up the teams that do this kind of really fascinating work tend to be different. So can you tell us a little bit about who over at Ogilvy kind of came together to make this happen?
Yeah, for sure. Basically, at Ogilvy, we've got a core team working on Perrier, which is made of our creative executive officer, Chris Garbett. Our managing director, Benoit de Florian, is very much involved on the brand because he's been working on it for 25 years from now. I'm the account director. And then we've got Frédéric Levon, who's head of digital, who worked on it, and a team of 4 creatives, 1 creative director, Thierry Tumino, and then 3 young creatives, but very brilliant, Baptiste Clinet, Nicolas Lotier, and Florian Baudet, and 1 digital producer, which is Hugo Diaz. So that's the core team at the agency. And we really worked on the conception and the coordination of all the work. We also worked with our TV production with Laure Bale for the production of all the films, because we've been shooting like these 6 films in 3 days in a cave in Romania, and it was -5. There are plenty of funny stuff behind the scenes, but they did an amazing job on this as well. So that was the core team at the agency, and we worked with a production company outside, which is BeReal London. We had been working with BeReal New York before to develop Perrier by Dita in 2010. So they helped us very much on the digital development of the custom channel, and we worked very closely with the YouTube engineers to just to answer our basic questions, because we had plenty of questions raising concerning what we could do and if we could achieve exactly what we wanted to achieve.
Got it. And so that's a couple of interesting points I actually would love to delve into just for a moment. One, it sounds like you had a lot of creatives working on this at like every stage of their career. You sound like you have people that have been working with Perrier for decades, and then it sounded you mentioned you have some really young creatives on that. Was that a conscious decision? Let's get people in from all across the board, different ages, experience levels. Is that something you guys did intentionally? Did you just needed the manpower, so that's how it happened? Why did you do such a broad swath of experience and backgrounds and so on?
I think for some very specific reasons, we've got some young creatives which are very much in line with our target audience and which are very much able to develop some media neutral creative ideas, and I think basically they're the best to find the right insight they can leverage. And in this team, we call them the BNFs, who came out with the idea of the more people there are in a room, the older it gets, and the transformation of it on the digital part. So that's really their freshness and youngness we were looking for. And after that, Perrier is a brand we've had for a very, very long time. It has a very, very specific tone of voice and brand DNA, which we wanted to always preserve. So that's why we've got some more senior people on top of it. And of course, they're not implied in the everyday stages of the development, but they were implied in the conceptualization at the very beginning and the persuasion of our clients as well.
Gotcha, and that of course gives the gives the client, I think, a little bit of confidence as well, hopefully, to say that, look, this is a pretty crazy idea, but you trust us, right?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I must thank our client as well, because he's always been quite bold with us. He's been trusting us quite a lot, and for now they've never been disappointed, but they've got some balls.
All right, and I have one more quick question for you on something you mentioned, which is that the production values in this were actually quite high. You had film production out there, you were in a cave in Romania. That's a lot of money spent and a lot of time spent to do some really high-level work for YouTube, which can sometimes be a challenge, I think, for people to wrap their heads around and brands to wrap their heads around that. You can put some really high-quality stuff on this and it will draw attention. Did you guys have to fight for that? Is that something that the client kind of grasped? And have you done more of that, or had you done it in the past? Or was this your first experience with producing something really high quality, television quality for that?
Yeah, actually, it's an everyday education of the client, I would say, because the challenge was really to explain them that when you're thinking digital, you should not think, okay, low cost in production, low cost in media, and I'll do a great buzz. And we are Perrier. We've always had some very high quality executions, and we didn't want to lower them because we wanted to lower the production cost. So basically, the main thing we had to make the client understand is that when it comes to digital, we need to keep the same high level of production, but maybe we can play a bit differently with the media amount to have a repartition which is a bit different. And that's what we've been doing already before with Perrier by Ditas. That's what we've done on Le Club Perrier. And that's what we've done as well for our next production, which will come next year. I hope you like it. But that's an education basically we've been doing with our client for years and years, and it comes to their mind now. They understand the notions of earned media as well, which you can get on the digital but not on the TV basically. So
right.
They're quite aware of that now, but we've been fighting quite a lot before.
Okay, great. So if just to wrap up, if you were going to give one recommendation to another creative or another agency that says, "Oh, I would love to do something of this ilk or something just in this direction. This is really inspiring to me," what would your single piece of advice be to them? I
think basically, given the process we've been following, I think the most important. Okay, can I say two things?
Okay.
Okay. The first one is, I think when you're trying to develop some innovative ideas online, you need to keep simple. I mean, as long as the idea is based on a true insight and can be expressed in one sentence, then to me it means that anyone will understand it and everyone will want to join it. And I think maybe sometimes we tend to overthink some concept and end up with some huge things which only huge geeks can understand, and that doesn't work for me. So that's the first point. And the second point to me is really, once you've got your idea, once you've got that line and you know more or less what you want to achieve, don't wait a minute to put everyone in the same place and make it grow together, because we can't, us alone, the creative agency, develop everything. We need the media, we need the techniques, and we need to gather everyone to make the best of it. And sometimes we tend to work too much in separate places before we gather, and I think we're missing some stuff at that point.
All right, those are excellent pieces of advice, and thank you so much for joining us in the evening.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
If you can stay on the line, we'll for Q&A afterwards. But at this point, let's go ahead and switch over to Saatchi LA and the digital production company Stopp. Are you guys around?
Yeah.
There they are. Okay. There's a whole gang over there. So I'm going to go ahead and first let's go ahead and run what you guys did. Let's take a look at the reel, and then maybe we can just do a quick round the table, and you can introduce yourself and your part that you played in this particular creative. So let's go ahead and run that.
In 2012, Toyota debuted the Prius C, a compact hybrid built for young adults looking to buy their first new car. To let them build their own Prius C, we transformed a traditional online shopping tool, the old-school car configurator, into something that speaks their language. Users start building their Prius C by choosing a color, then choosing their technology, and wheels, and seats. Prius C configurator crossed the line from a same old washed up site experience into pure entertainment, ushering in an era where online car shopping doesn't have to suck.
All right. So a lot going on with this, and a lot of stuff to discuss. I think it's really interesting, and I personally have a lot of questions. But before we do that, can we go ahead and, like I said, let's go around the table. Maybe just start with Melissa over at Saatchi LA.
Hi, I'm Melissa Eccles. I'm the Associate Director of Integrated, which just means I'm a producer, and I was the EP on the project overseeing the production.
Great.
Hi, I'm Tom Evans. I look after social media things here at Saatchi LA. The main kind of part of this is looking at how and where we should be reaching out to audiences and working out what's the right platform to engage people with and why.
Hi, I'm Megan Vitor. I'm an integrated producer, meaning work on video and interactive-based content, and I was the producer on this project.
Hey guys, I'm Eric Vinluan. I'm a creative. We had 2 creative teams working on this and 1 creative director, and I'm one of the art directors.
Great. And Zach?
Zachary Richter, creative director at Stopp LA. Basically played a role in working with all of the film design, art direction, and kind of just helping out in the overall creative vision of the actual production of the experience.
Hey, I'm Bo, technical director at Stopp for this project. Basically sitting next to Zach on everything.
All right, guys. So this is a big idea. There is a lot going on in it. There's lots of filming. There's lots of technical details. There's all kinds of stuff I would love to dig into. But just to start off, if you can maybe lead us through, how did this idea get developed within the agency, with the client? Just what was that process like?
Well, it was a little bit risky, actually. It was something that was very, very focused on a specific target. And we thought to ourselves, how can we reinvent the shopping process? How can we reinvent the experience that people are having when they try to buy a new car? And so we wanted to approach it from, okay, how does everybody look into a car? They go to the manufacturer's website, they start to investigate, and maybe if they get far enough along in the process, they decide that they want to configure a car. And we wanted to do this in a way and on a platform where our target already was, and that platform was YouTube. So we thought, what is a different way to do this experience? And the idea of a live action car configurator came up, and we thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to see this in a different way? So that's what we did.
Great. So just an extension of that question. So it sounds like the idea came early. You pretty much knew what you wanted to do. But again, there's so many moving pieces here. How exactly did you decide at both Stopp and at Saatchi LA, how did you decide what technologies you were going to use, how you were even going to just piece this together, because there is a lot to do here? What was that process like? Did that come early in the ideation process, or did you just say, let's come up with the idea and we'll figure this out 2 months from now? When did the actual hard technology bits start coming in?
It actually started pretty early. We knew we wanted to partner with Stopp. They were involved from pretty much the beginning as far as the creative ideation was concerned. And so we said, what's the best way to deliver this, and how are we going to innovate? Which we decided to do one of the first projects really using interactive video on the platform. And then basically we partnered with Stopp to figure out how to execute that. And Bo can talk about that a little bit more.
Well, one of the first things we realized was when we were actually seeing how many different options you had for this car. And you could go through this configurator, basically back and forth and selecting all the different colors and different extra options. We realized there was going to be a lot of videos, and,
right.
And just how we should piece these together and how we should shoot them was a pretty big document that we were working on in many versions.
So
in every version of this document, we realized, oh, we need 20 more videos, and oh, this options adds 70 new videos, and but we still had the same amount of time to shoot it, so we had to optimize how to shoot and work really fast in creating all those videos.
Sure, and I kind of have a technical question about how you managed those separate kind of sections of videos? Was it like one big video and you'd have specific time codes and say, jump here and then use the API to stop playback, or did you have separate videos for each of those individual things?
Every single option was shot separately, so we knew we had the option to use them separately, and that was the option we ended up with in the end. So we had about 500 different videos that we could piece together in many variations. So the other option, as you talked about, is like having created or like rendering out all the different options would have been way more videos than 500.
Yeah, but it was plenty to begin with, it sounded like, and plenty that you guys ended up with anyway. So I guess my question over for Saatchi LA, how did you guys put together the team? So much like my question to Thomas, how did you pick who was going to work on this? Who came together to actually make this happen?
Sure, we can answer that together.
Yeah. So for the Prius C launch, we had two creative teams, a designer led by a creative director, and we're the team that came up with a TV, print, iMedia, and this car configurator. So we kind of worked across all mediums. So it's not like a specific team was selected to work on configurator. It was everyone that was assigned under the umbrella brand launch.
Yeah, I think it's becoming this project was a true test of it, but it's becoming pretty standard for how we work at Saatchi LA. Is as Melissa in my title kind of indicated, truly is integrated, and everyone works across all platforms based on the concept. And we're lucky to have under one roof a lot of the teams in the same agency. So the social team is highly integrated from the beginning in terms of strategy, as is UX and design, creative, production, and then we work across those platforms so that it's not piecemeal, and if someone's not creating the video and then passing it off to the developers, we're working on it all together, which helps with the seamlessness, especially on a project like this.
Yeah, and I'd also add that we've kind of come to a place where creatives work across all mediums now. We don't work in silos here. If you work on TV, you'll work on a banner ad. If you work on a banner ad, you work on print.
Wow, okay, that's
an example of that.
And it's all the same problem solving. Communicate the message with words and art.
Yeah, that's great, and I think that that's something that is, it's easy to say that everyone should do that. It's much harder to actually do it. So it sounds like you guys actually did that, and that is a big step. And I think it makes things maybe complicated, but it leads to these very nice integrated kind of seamless concepts. Let me ask you a question on the client side. How did they respond to this when you approached them with it? Was it a total layup, easy sell? Were they, concerned about the complexity? How did that go?
I think and Melissa can answer this too, but I think we tried to keep it sounding more simple than it really turned out to be. And I think we also learned along the way how complicated it just continued, as Bo kind of mentioned too. It grew and grew and grew. The idea was very simple in its essence, but the execution of it became very complicated, and they kind of had to come on that ride with us. And maybe they don't know all the bits and pieces behind the curtain as well.
I think we're really lucky too. We've got a long-standing 30-year plus relationship with our client, and they said, all right, if this is what your consumer insights are telling you, if this is where your users are, then we're willing to take that risk with you. And it paid off with the time of engagement.
I think that was the key as well, is knowing where the audience was and understanding that this was a new product which was reaching out to a new audience, and that we needed to do something different to kind of really engage them and make them understand what the product was and why it was the car for them. Gotcha.
Was there any one major technical or YouTube-based stumbling point that you guys can point out, or was it lots of little tiny stumbling points that you just overcame bit by bit?
I think Bo can speak to this too. I think because it ended up being so many videos that had to work together, and in essence we wanted it to feel like one extended performance, theatrical performance, and one video piece. It was about how to make those transitions, both in how we shot it and then how we put the videos together on YouTube. That was probably the trickiest part for seamlessness.
Sure. And I mean, I think this is a piece of feedback that we hear all the time from developers who want to have kind of like a seamless playlist experience with different videos, but you know, you don't want the buffering in between, you know, the end of one video and the beginning of the next video. And you know, from looking and playing around with the actual live campaign, it seems like you guys did a great job. Seem in general very seamless, and you know, things kind of jumped smoothly, or maybe not a jump smoothly, right, but was smooth. So you know, obviously you found a workable solution. So that was definitely cool.
Yeah, we definitely found different ways to use the Chronos player and all the YouTube API in I think probably the best way possible. But we were planning on a lot of buffering and a lot of like background loading because it's an experience that takes a lot of time to watch, and therefore we had a lot of time to load in the background. But I think in the end we have a really solid build. One nice little hiccup we found was we also have a big tool that's based on a maps application, with an MPG calculator, and everything here is built in Flash. And during the development time, the Flash API for the maps part will kind of dropped from Google. So there was a little issue there, but we were able to solve that as well.
I'm going to
point it was a little scarier there for a while.
I'm going to point at Jeff on that. I have nothing to do with that.
I will apologize on behalf of your experience.
Thank you.
So actually, while we have Jeff here, I just want to throw him at your feet since he can run nowhere. He's trapped in this room with me. If you wanted, you know, one or two things on the YouTube development side to make some of your creative ideas come to life, this is a brilliant idea. It was very complex. You guys obviously figured out all these pieces at a very quick pace. If there had been something that could have made your life easier, or something down the line that you would love to see, what would that be?
Wow, that's a great question. I think the shareability factor with this project and the playlist, that was the biggest challenge that I saw as far as the metrics coming back. We really wanted people to be able to share it easily, and a lot of people were feeling like the shareable playlist wasn't as seamless as it could have been. And I know we spoke about that a little bit, but more options for customizing that shareability, you know, and getting those playlists to a place where it can feel like one experience versus multiple video experiences.
And was the specific issue because it was a playlist of videos versus sharing a single video, and you found some difficulty around that?
Yeah, in order to share your configured vehicle, we couldn't really share just one video with their configuration. We had to share a string of videos that went through to them. And when people saw it originally, they were a little bit confused about what it is. Okay. So trying to find a way to do that was a little bit more elegant, you know, in the next iteration of the API would be something that we're really excited about. Okay,
that's great feedback. Absolutely, I can pass that on to the relevant folks internally.
Definitely. And let me ask you guys, because there's a lot of folks on the Hangout right now from two different groups, right? And I'm sure there's more people internally. It sounds like there was just a whole lot of cooks in the kitchen. How did you guys manage, especially given that it is not siloed, you know, everyone does kind of work across all these mediums, et cetera. How do you manage having so many brains on one enormous idea?
You want to go ahead?
War rooms.
A lot of meetings.
A lot of meetings.
And a lot of deferring to our expert partners at Stopp. You know, that's why we bring in partners like them to help take the lead and help direct us too, especially when things start to move really quickly and with a lot of factors.
Yeah, I think to Melissa's point earlier when she was talking about kind of essentially just bringing us in early on a project, having us all sort of formulate these, like bringing everyone's expertise to the table early and having these workshops in the beginning was so important. We definitely did not feel like a vendor on this project, and we really felt like a partner, and that was key to making this whole thing go as smoothly as possible. There were a lot of hiccups along the way, but you know, really just like when she was saying Boo made this document early on that showed how many videos we actually did making these giant trees, figuring all this things out visually and having everyone together was key.
Yeah, one team, one dream. You know, it sounds cheesy, but it's true. And everybody really believed that we were doing something innovative and something groundbreaking. So it's easy for people to collaborate when they're really excited about the idea they're collaborating on. So it was a dream project in that respect.
Great, and it sounds like you had quite the backing from your client too, which that always helps as well to say, no, we've got the green light on this as long as we can pull it all together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now might be a good time to mention that we are taking questions from the general viewing audience right now. We have a Google Moderator link that should be somewhere below me. And feel free to add whatever questions that you might have after watching what we've been talking about to supplement the types of questions we're asking.
Yeah, and so just to ask you guys one further question, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Thomas, which is, if you had one, or in his case two, one or two insights that you were going to share with another person who said, I'm thinking about doing something that's kind of similar in this vein, it's a big idea, it's really complicated, lots of video, what would be the one or two things you would say, this is absolutely necessary and we learned this in this process?
I think one of the keys was really understanding the audience and being able to tie that back to the product, because if we were doing this for a different product, this wouldn't have been the right place to do it. So having that and really being clear from day one on that really, really helps a lot.
Great. So know your audience. That's something that honestly, and that's actually a very good insight, and one that maybe gets missed sometimes when people get very excited about a particular technology, because it's easy to say, we can do this really flashy thing, but having that focus on the audience is a really great piece of advice to people that are actually thinking of developing something like this. So before we cut over to see if we've got some questions on the moderator tool, any last comments or questions from you guys, Saatchi LA, or Stopp, either just in general on the project, the experience, or any final questions or requests of Jeff and YouTube?
I mean, I would say, sorry, I was going to say one thing that we definitely learned, and if we could do it all over again, would be to have all these technologies solidified up front. I mean, we worked at such a fast pace, and to have things changing and moving along the way, that definitely creates hiccups. And you spend more time working on these things that could have been solidified instead of working on the actual creative. And I think that definitely hindered part of it, hindered a little bit of the seamlessness that we discussed earlier. But overall, I think everything went pretty smoothly. But again, if we could just have everything very, very solidified, would have helped.
We'd love to borrow your engineers so we could all work in-house together. That'd be awesome.
Agreed.
I feel like going to LA. The weather's getting really bad here in New York, so it's a good time to make an offer.
It's beautiful in LA today.
That does sound really tempting. I also wanted to point out that this is absolutely not the only opportunity that folks have to ask questions of me, whether you're one of the agencies that we've worked with, or you're just an average YouTube developer. The developer relations team tries to do our best to answer all the questions that come in related to the YouTube APIs, and our actual best way of reaching us right now is posting on Stack Overflow, which is a website for developers, and tagging your question with YouTube-API. And I and my teammates look at those all the time, and we're always happy to help folks.
There you go. So we actually do have a couple of questions that have come in. So I will go ahead and pose these to everyone on the call. And this one is Thomas still with us?
Yes, I'm still there.
Thank you, sir. Was Le Club Perrier embeddable? How did it perform on mobile devices outside of the regular YouTube channel experience? So was that embeddable? Was that something that you could move to other devices, or was that something that lived on the brand channel only?
Actually, that's a very good question, and that's one of the difficulties we've had with the custom channel of YouTube, because we would have liked ideally to be able to give people the same experiment online on mobile, and we found it quite difficult to get an adaptable custom channel. So what we did is we were working with Apple's iAd, and we developed the same kind of experiment directly on iAd, but we couldn't do it with the YouTube mobile app. So that's something to work on, guys. Okay. That's it.
And
very good question.
So, and just on Saatchi LA, same thing. Any mobile work with the campaign, or was it the same situation as for Thomas?
Same situation. It was.
I figured. Okay, so we have another list of items to work on?
Yeah, we do. I'll point out that we actually, back in July at our Google I/O conference announced something that is kind of relevant to the mobile space, and that's an Android player library that will now allow for native YouTube playback within Android applications, and it makes it a little bit easier to do that whole embedded playback scenario if you already have a mobile app. So that's not something that's quite public yet, so obviously not something you could have used, but we're working really hard on making that publicly available and releasing it. So I think in that sense, things might get a little bit better soon.
Okay. And that question, by the way, was from Tim. Another question from Peter in Vancouver, which was very similar, and I think we just heard the answer there, was how important was mobile participation to the campaign's success? And it sounds like these were just not mobile-focused campaigns in this case, but would have been great if they were.
Exactly.
If I'm not putting words in people's mouths. Another question that just came through, which is actually quite interesting, from Alex in Los Angeles. Besides sharing the configured car to social networks, what other CTAs were encouraged? Were you able to tie a configuration down to the actual sale of a car? How did this integrate across other media and channels? So, what was what were the actions that you guys were really measuring and wanting to see, and how tightly was it connected to, actual dollar sale, ROI, et cetera?
For us, this was a bit more. It was a new vehicle. And for first-time car buyers, it was more about meet the Prius, an initial introduction to the vehicle and getting to know it and all of the elements available to you. So for us, it was really about engagement and time spent, which was a shocking metric for us, actually. We had people spending about 22 minutes in the experience. Yeah, crazy, right? Like, we've rechecked the numbers so many times. That they were spending that much time going through the configurator, building their version of the Prius C, and then doing it again. So to us, that was the primary element for success.
Great.
And yeah, I was going to say, due to the time that we actually had to launch this, we did have the idea to tie this experience directly in with something that was going to deliver on Toyota.com, but it actually just kind of ended up being quite complicated, and it was more important that they were just actually able to configure their car and share it than to actually have it on Toyota.com, to see it on Toyota.com.
Okay. 22 minutes, that blows my mind. I mean, that's like
Absolutely.
a sitcom without the ads, essentially. So when you TiVo a sitcom. That is crazy. So that's great. And Saatchi LA, Stopp, Thomas with Ogilvy, any final questions or comments before we wrap up for today?
No, it was a fun project, and it's really exciting to get to talk about it and share it with everybody.
Yeah, these were both just beautiful and amazing pieces of creative and technology, and both so totally different and totally amazing. So it's been a real pleasure for us to be able to talk with you and for everyone who's on the Hangout. So thank you guys, everyone, so much for being here and sharing. This has been recorded, so we will be releasing it sometime in the next several days, I believe, and that information will go out in the same channels that the information for this Hangout went. And I'll just wrap by saying thank you so much to everyone here today. And for those of you that are watching at home or at your offices, if you'd like to join tomorrow we're going to be discussing some double-click and rich media uses that we thought were pretty interesting. And you can find these fantastic examples that we talked about today, as well as many others, at creativesandbox.com. So go check that out if you'd like to see some further work. So with that, thanks again so much to everyone, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.